Welcome everyone to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Rich Franklin gets inducted into the UFC 2019 Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man, congratulations.
I think he's the ideal ambassador of the sport, the good guy of the sport, somebody who never turned down fights, somebody who never knew how to say no to Anderson Silva,
right? Because
he really felt like he was one punch away, because technically he really was one punch away from winning most of these fights that he lost. And somebody, like I was mentioning to you before, like, you know, he was a math teacher before he became a mixed martial artist full time. Anybody who ever did anything outside of mixed martial arts, who had the passion for it, he was the ambassador that said, you know what, maybe you should be taking this on full time, and did such a phenomenal job with it. Now he's the president of ONE FC and somebody who has to, in one way or another, be mixed into the mixed martial arts world. So
just one quick, you pretty much wrapped it up. But one thing to note, that he was one of the fighters that left at the peak of his career. Well, I wouldn't say the peak of his career, but with a highlight reel. He knocked out Chuck Liddell. Not only did he get a knockout, but he knocked out one of the greatest UFC fighters that ever graced the MMA, should I say, that ever graced the octagon. So he left at the top of the ranks, you know, like Joy St. Pierre's another one,
Michael Bingsby, if you really
to a certain extent, but it's an honor, you know. It was an honor to watch his fight. So congratulations to Rich Franklin.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so we really want to just paste on this whole new Poirier versus Holloway 2, which was such a phenomenal event.
Yeah, one of the greatest cards we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. And there was two fights back to back that I don't know if we've ever seen another card that had back to back fights in a card like this did. But the card started off strong. We had Nikita Krylov defeated OSP from a submission rear naked choke. And we had this conversation. You did say OSP was not going to win. I actually had OSP winning because I did find that OSP fights way better when he's under pressure after a couple of losses. And you proved me wrong.
I mean, you know, nothing was 100%. I didn't go in there 100% confident that Nikita was going to beat OSP, but I did have Nikita with the upper hand because his submission skills is great. His stand-up game is great. He knows how to take people down, and this is the reason why I ended up picking him. And it was a good choice, you know.
No, without a doubt. And to OSP, man, it sucks for OSP right now, because OSP now is at that peak of his career where he's like, he needs to really find it. I mean, he is one lose away from getting either cut by the UFC or having to reconsider his MMA career. I believe so. Next fight, we had Dwight Grant, who actually defeated Alan Jouban in a split decision.
It was a really close fight. I did have Jouban under. I didn't have him winning, but a back and forth battle. Great stand up. Fight, but unfortunately Jouban did come short a little bit after the third round. Who's the other guy? I'm sorry.
Dwight Grant.
Congratulations to Dwight Grant. Great performance in such a high level. You know, the third fight in the card, and on top of that, fighting a guy like Alan Jouban, who is at the top of his game. You know.
I couldn't agree more. Dwight definitely lost that first round. Jouban had completely dominated the first round. And then Dwight found it within himself to really push and get a complete decision on round 2. And then round 3, he just swept the card up, and the judges went for Dwight, which I totally agree. Now, the fight that really started to set the mood for this card was Khalil Roundtree, who actually defeated Eric Anders. And holy crap, man. You got someone like Roundtree, who we know actually has gone fully devoted going into Thailand just to really train on his Muay Thai. And you saw the highlight reels of somebody who's fully devoted into one specific martial arts and do it in such a high level.
We've never seen a transformation from a guy that has great stand-up game to a certain extent and great takedown defense, but his stand-up game was top the notch. Like, he had the best stand-up game in that whole card. We saw a completely transformation from a guy who was great to a guy that is amazing. You know what I mean? Congratulations. Eric Anderson was the perfect person to put against a guy that is a great stand-up fighter, if you ask me.
And just to give Anders some kudos in that fight, man. That guy took such a pounding and stayed in it and found. I mean, there were so many things that could have easily. he could have quit after the second
Absolutely.
round.
Or even the judges could have stopped the fight, or even their corners could have.
Corner could have stopped it, and he found a way to just dig through. And I was completely impressed with his heart. And that's one thing you can't take away from a fighter like that, you know. So I am extremely happy with Khalil Rountree's performance. I thought he is going to be top level fighter at this point. Give him top 10. Give him top 10 without a doubt.
Yeah, with this type of performance, he deserves it.
Next fight, we have another card to go, so let's see if we can speed this up a little bit. We have Israel Adesanya versus Kevin Gastelum.
One of the great fights in the UFC history.
Period.
Yeah, hands down.
You want me?
You know, it was a great stand-up battle. You would think there was going to be a lot more wrestling going for Gastelum after he couldn't really figure him out on the feet. However, Gastelum stood on his feet. Great hand movement. Yo, he was quick. But what we really saw, the major difference was the height, right? Adesanya had 3 or 4 inches over Gastelum, and you could really tell. And Adesanya was doing a great job of keeping his distance with the jab. You know what I mean? Great, tremendous fight. You know, Adesanya is the real deal, and I can't wait to see who they put him up against next, man.
So I will say this: I think Kelvin Gastelum really opened up the door a little bit on how you can defeat someone like Israel Adesanya, but you got to break Adesanya, and that's something that we did not know about. When adversity kicks in, what Israel we were going to see,
right?
And the fact that he not only got hit and rocked with some straight right hands. I mean, you did see Adesanya's face. He's never looked like that before a fight, or at least that we've seen in the UFC. He was
lumped up.
And then the most important thing is Gastelum didn't want to wrestle him, but he managed to really stagger him with that left kick to the head, and that changed the game for him. It almost threw off Israel Adesanya. Did not know exactly what he was about to do. When he figured it out, Adesanya puts things together like John Jones status. Knows how to put it together through adversity. Granted, John Jones probably never seen adversity besides the fight that he had with Gustafsson.
Yeah.
But extremely impressive performance by Israel Adesanya. I am extremely impressed with him, and he's officially going for that belt, man.
And he deserves it. Either one of those two fighters deserved it. But I can't wait to see Adesanya back in the octagon. And on top of that, I can't wait to see Gastelum back in the octagon.
You know, the great thing, just real fast, the great thing I think about that situation is if Israel gets injured, Kelvin can step right in. If Whittaker gets injured, I wouldn't mind seeing part 2 of the Gastelum versus Adesanya. This is what makes this weight class so fucking deep, man. We got killers in that weight class.
Absolutely, man.
Next fight we got, which was also another amazing battle versus Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway.
You know, we have to take in consideration Max Holloway going up in weight. How much did that hurt him? We saw Dustin Poirier, a stockier Dustin Poirier. He seemed like he deserved to be in that weight class. Like, he didn't lose not one, he didn't have to do a major cut. But you saw the difference in Max Holloway. The power wasn't there. It was unfortunate we didn't see the power in Max Holloway. The speed was there. The ability to not stop. The stamina was there. But unfortunately, the power was not there, and that's what cost them the fight, if you ask me.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the most impressive thing is how composed someone like Max Holloway, after taking so many beatings and still sticking in, and then to really think that Dustin Poirier, people were questioning, should he be the one taking this fight, or is he even championship level? He
proved everybody wrong.
Not only did he prove everyone wrong, but now he could just surpass that, man. Like, he is, if it's not him, who it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he made a champion. He broke a champion. He really did. He broke the champion, and I think.
Well, we wouldn't say a champion because although he's a champion from a different, we have to take that in consideration, different weight class, right? So going in there, we have to give Max Holloway's still a champion. Doesn't mean because he lost, he's not a champion. He's a champion in his own weight class. But man, congratulations, Dustin Poirier. One of the best performances that he had in his whole career so far, and I can't wait to see. There's rumors about him fighting Khabib in September. So a lot of good things for the lightweight division.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's the right time frame too. September is perfect for Poirier.
Yeah.
To really rest and really go back into training without hesitation, staying hopefully away from injuries. and Madagascar. Khabib has really been taking a long time off, and he's easily going to transition into this fight. So it couldn't work out any better. Anyways, jumping straight into what's going to happen actually tomorrow, which is UFC on ESPN +7, Overeem versus Oleinik, which I am also looking very forward to. This fight, you have just everyone and their mother fighting in this card from different countries. Such an amazing thing to look at when you guys are looking through this card is see how many countries are literally fighting in this card.
Yeah.
Which is just a good feeling to know that we're at this point in this level. So first fight, which I'm not very familiar with, but he is undefeated. Alan Modeski is fighting Krzysztof Jutko. Not very familiar with both fighters.
Yeah, before we even continue, we have to take in consideration these is an international fight because they're not fighting in the United States. So with that being said, a lot of these fighters are fighters that they get from their own town to come in to fight to the UFC who have great records. So we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of people that we do not know.
It's actually just going through this list. It's going to be very challenging to with some of these fighters. Then we got a female fight, Roxana Madaderi versus Antonia Shevchenko. And that's another fight. Not very familiar with these fighters.
Yeah, again, these are all fighters that we're not because they're part of the roster in the UFC, but they're just not familiar names.
But I will say, Roxana's a vet, man. She has 22 fights, and then you look at someone like Antonia Shevchenko, who's literally 7-0. So these are the fights that you want to really see, you know. Then you got Mauricio Gom fighting Sergey Pavlovich, which is a pretty freaking. This is like gonna be a stand-up war. You got the Brazilian Mauricio, who's 6-2, and then you got Sergey, who's 12-1.
Wow.
12-1 is an impressive record, no matter where you're fighting. So that's really impressive, and looking forward to seeing that fight as well. And then we have Islam Makanovic versus Aram Tasheskin.
Again.
Once again, bro, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, but these guys are from like Bulgaria and Russia and a bunch of different countries, and they have very, very difficult last names. Once again, if this is the co-main event, this is something you need to watch. Period.
Yeah.
They both only have one loss. One is 16-1, the other one's 13-1. Totally worth watching. And then the main event, which I am so happy for my man Alexis Oleinik, who's literally gotten where he wants to be at, which is the top in his hometown. You got Aleksei Oleinik versus Alistair Overeem, the vet Alistair Overeem with 44 fights.
Yo, let me get in this really quick. It's gonna be. We've seen Sergey knock people out. We obviously seen Alistair Overeem knock people out. Alistair Overeem has, from K1, from his days in K1, we've seen so many knockouts. But what we've been very impressive. Sergey, way to submit these every fighter that he's fought. He had a good 4 winning streak with the same exact submission. The question is, could he take Alistair Overeem down? The question is, does he have the power to knock a guy like Alistair Overeem? And vice versa. Does Alistair Overeem take the upper hand by swinging first, or should he take him down? So it is a big mix. I have Alistair Overeem winning because he's a better stand-up fighter and a great takedown defense.
It's gonna be really impressive to see what Oleinik how he's gonna find a way to take someone like Alistair Overeem, because Alistair Overeem has great takedown defense. It's gonna be a major challenge for both fighters. It's gonna be a chess match from the beginning. So something to watch, something to absolutely watch. Once again, extremely happy for Oleinik. I think he is finding where he wants to be at in the UFC. Before we close this down, we have a couple of announcements. So we got Jerome Mickle is fighting Nick Rodriguez, in the Tropicana in New Jersey, in Atlantic City. If you guys are looking for tickets, the tickets are on sale for $52 to $62.
Yeah.
And you guys could actually reach out to Jerome Mickle at 347-352-1322. That's 347-352-1322. They're fighting in May 31st in Atlantic City at the Tropicana Casino. Please don't miss it. This is one of those fights that both guys have made a big name for themselves. We, knowing personally, Jerome Mickle has fought for Bellator in the New York fight, and something that's totally worth looking up to. These are the guys that are in line. They're one fight away from contracts to major events. So shout outs to Jerome, man. Jerome, the mechanic.
Good luck, my brother. Good luck, and we'll catch you guys next week.
That's it, guys.
Peace.
Peace, my people.